I have a question for Mr. Moon. Sir, what do you propose as supervisor to do about our illegal boarding houses?
Our zoning laws would have to be strictly enforced. I have no problem about that. If there is any zoning violation which is not being taken care of by zoning administrators or police officers, please bring that to my attention.
And what could you do as a supervisor?
As a supervisor, we have to work with the zoning administrators and police officers to give us citations and to enforce the zoning ordinances.
But what are you going to do as a supervisor?
That is what I'm going to do so that they can be brought into the justice. If it is a criminal violation, it has to be criminally prosecuted. If there's a civil violation, there has to be civil penalties. That's what I intend to do. A violation is a violation, and that has to be brought into justice.
I think John Cook wants to respond to that too.
Chuck, let me talk about the boarding house issue because it's so important. We spent so much time in Queens Park. The problem, Mr. Moon, is that the county zoning department doesn't have near the resources it needs to respond to these zoning complaints. In fact, we need to double the zoning department in order to meet probably just the zoning complaints that we have now, and zoning complaints have doubled over the last 2 years. Instead, the county executive is proposing to cut back on the number of zoning inspectors. It's not just a question of saying, obey the law. The problem is our government isn't enforcing the law. We spent a lot of time in Kings Park. We're the only community that's come up with a solution that's worked on boarding houses. The first thing that we did is we educated ourselves on what the zoning rules were so that we weren't making incorrect complaints, because the county folks told us that about 10% of the zoning complaints that are made to the county are actually not violations at all. So we said we can save 10% of their time by knowing what to report. The second thing we learned is that 80% of the time when the zoning inspectors do go out to a home that's in violation, the people will voluntarily comply with the law. They didn't know what the law was. So we made it a priority in our community to educate our community. And we posted in our newsletter that every house got what the zoning and property maintenance regulations were. And then we made it a community value to urge our neighbors and ourselves to follow the law. And so we brought down the number of complaints. And then we said, okay, if we brought down the number of complaints, now perhaps the county will have the ability to enforce those complaints where the people are not voluntarily complying. And then we said, we're gonna sort of look over their shoulder to make sure that they're doing what they need to do. And every month I got a report from the zoning department. And every month I followed up to see if they were following up on these complaints. And the result was we closed boarding houses in Kings Park. We reduced the number of zoning complaints. Countywide, this is a big problem. If you're down in Springfield, if you're in North Springfield, it's blight in our community, and I told you about it earlier. It's got to be a priority, and you have to know what the issue is. It's an important issue. I've developed a solution that works, and I'll bring it to all Fairfax counties.